Hi, I'm Deb.
And I'm Brian.
And we're back from Life in Guatemala with an informational video. A lot of people coming down here oftentimes wonder, even if it's just to visit or to move, what about my money? How do I get money to spend down there? And so we've put together some notes that we're hoping to help you figure that out.
Yeah, so the first thing, if you're just coming down to visit, it's probably a little bit better if you wait until you get here to do the money exchange. We just know from experience in the United States that, because one time we transferred dollars into Quetzal, we exchanged dollars into Quetzales in the USA, and the exchange rate we got
wasn't great.
It wasn't all that good. Plus, did we have to pay a fee to the bank to do it too? Because the Quetzal isn't the most common currency that people are looking to get. So
let's back up just a minute. Let's start with, what is the currency? And you've heard us mention it a couple of times. It's called the Quetzal, or you'll hear everybody say the Q. They refer to it as Q. How much Q do I need? So that's the name of the currency here. The exchange rate has been pretty steady for the last 4 or 5 years, easy. Anywhere between 7.5 and 7.7 Q per US dollar. So that gives you an idea when you're looking at prices, how much things are and what they cost. And I always tell people, if you have a 100 Q bill, consider it a $13 bill. It's kind of an average thing.
Yep.
So if you're visiting, things you should know. Like Brian said, wait till you get here and exchange your money. And also, we've learned, don't use the exchange at the airport. That's just as bad, if not worse, than a bank in the States.
It is when you come through, right, after you collected your luggage, right?
No, it's before your luggage.
Before you collect your luggage, there's a place where you can exchange money, but the exchange rate isn't very good there.
But there are 2 ATM machines. So if you can use your debit card, there's a lot of different banks down here with a lot of different names. GET, which is, I don't know, Guatemala Continental, and BI, which is Banco Industrial, and Ban Rural, and BAM, which is Bank of America. But there's a lot of different, and they all have their own ATM machines.
The most common two are the 5B or Cinco Bay, as they call them here, right, and the BI. Those are just about everywhere.
Now, coming into Guatemala at the airport, at least if they haven't changed things because they're doing a lot of remodeling, before immigration and right beside all the Claro and Tigo cell phone stands, kiosks, on the left-hand side has always been what they call a 5B, a Cinco Bay. It's a yellow ATM machine. And there's a little secret when you go to take your money out there. Always turn down their bank rate that they're offering on that first screen.
Yeah, this has been a point of confusion for a number of people, and we've seen it on a couple of different Guatemalan Facebook sites. Hey, it says, do I want the exchange rate? And I said yes, and
I got this really bad exchange rate.
I got this bad exchange rate. So you say no, and
the next screen comes up with your bank's information. And then all you have to do is say, yes, I want to pay my 49Q, which is $5 bank fee for your ATM fee, plus whatever your own bank charges.
One other thing I just want to throw in here real quick. Many of the ATMs that I've seen, right when you put your card in there, there's an option to select either Spanish or English. So if your Spanish isn't up to snuff, don't worry about, I'm going to have to know Spanish to use the ATM. Most machines, they have the option to select English.
They recognize your card as a U.S. card, and they'll ask you.
And so you select English, and then everything comes up in English. So very good.
If for some reason you wanted to wait until you got your luggage, the BI machine is not as obvious, the Banco Industrial. You have to go out of the airport across, there's like a street, and you go to the parking garage, take the elevator up, there's a snack shop. In there is where the Banco Industrial ATM machine is. I have found in my own experience, oftentimes I have less fees if I use the Banco Industrial, and they also don't ask me that question about, do I want to turn down the rates? At least they haven't so far.
Now, so I have a question for you.
Okay.
The majority of debit cards in the USA are either a Visa or a MasterCard debit card,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, the majority of them are, yeah.
And not anymore, because I remember initially, we're talking in the Stone Ages, each bank had its own
Yeah.
card and whatnot. But now, because
You don't have to worry
I'm just
about that.
saying, these down here, Visa and MasterCard are king.
Yeah.
You know,
If they take your card, which we're going to get to further down. Another thing I want to tell you when you're taking money out, and this is not a national thing, this is not even the same at every bank ATM, even the same bank. Here in Xela, I have found for myself the maximum I can take out is 2,000 Q per day. And a lot of people said, well, in Antigua, I can have more than one transaction. I can take out 4,000 Q out of my BI machine. I've tried that here. I cannot do that. It knows I've taken out 2,000 Q. So that's about 260 US dollars.
yeah,
And that's
I am
each
kind of
day.
curious about that. Is that the bank account that we have here? Is that something to do with the ATM card we're trying to use, or what? I mean, I don't know. I don't guess you know.
I don't know either, but I do know if I had to, I could get 2,000 Q out of a BI and 2,000 Q out of a GET. So it's not that I'm limited 100% to that.
Single bay, you mean?
Single
Yeah.
bay, yeah.
Single
So
bay
there's,
ATM.
there's, if you need more than $260 at a time, you may have to go to multiple machines or make multiple transactions or just wait until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of about getting money down here if you're coming to visit. Also, when you're down here and you want to use that Visa or MasterCard, the places that do accept it, be careful. And sometimes you have to ask, they may or may not tell you. A lot of places now are transferring their costs to you. There may be a 5 to 8% upcharge on whatever you're buying to pay any Visa or MasterCard fees.
Service charge. I mean, this is the same in the USA, right? Not quite as common there, but some places they do charge to cover that service fee of 5 to 7%.
Maybe and back to transferring money. If you're coming down for an extended stay, but you're not moving, but you need larger sums of money or more money, there's a number of money transfer services. PayPal owns one called Zoom, and I have used that. We've also used Wells Fargo transfer service. And the nice thing about the transfer services, Charles Schwab has them. Charles Schwab also, we're told, we don't have the account, refunds your ATM fees if you get any fees. But you can have a transfer go to the bank. You don't need an account there. You take your passport and your transaction number, and you can pick up cash at the bank, usually within a half an hour of making your transfer. And it's XOOM, Zoom. That's the one we have used. There's Remitly, there's Wise, there's World Remit. I've not used any of those, but you'll see on the Facebook pages when people are talking about this, a lot of recommendations of what's best for you as far as charges, being able to get money without an account and all that. So you might need a larger sum of money and a different way to get it. And that's just another option for you to think about. Okay. Next, this next one is kind of tough. A lot of people that decide they're going to move down here or stay for a long time ask about opening a bank account. And like I said, there's a lot of different banks here, as well as their version of credit unions. I mean, they're all over the place. And there's some that are major banks and some that are smaller, just like in the States. And I wish I had an exact answer for you, but no matter how many times you ask the question, everybody tells you something different. I can't get a bank account because I'm not a permanent resident yet. Or I can't get a bank account with my passport. Or I opened one with no problem. Now, that was our experience. I came down here actually before we were even living here and rented a house and everything. I had to have a bank account. Went to a GET bank because I knew a friend that knew the manager. I'm sure that helped. But I did also have 2 letters of recommendation from Guatemalans that had an account at that bank. But with my passport, I was able to open an account, and I still have that account. And that was before we got our permanent residency. We also have an account at Banco Industrial, BI, and that is, we had our residency already, so that was a really easy to do.
Yeah, for that one, we had to show up with a copy of the electric bill or something like that to
Yeah.
prove,
That we had a house
yeah,
here.
that we have a house or something like
Yeah.
that. But it was that in our
Our,
identification, which for us now it's the DPI.
well, you'll hear it
card.
said DPE here in Guatemala.
Yeah, but that's like a,
National identification card,
yeah,
basically.
like in the USA, you would use your driver's license for just a general ID if you go in to open up accounts or whatever. Well, here it's the DPI. So we had that and copy of our electric bill and
Open
the account, no problem.
But I have read many stories from many people. They went to the same bank. They also went to GET because people said that was the easy place to get an account and they got turned down. It might even be a different branch. One says yes and one says no. I wish I could tell you there was a hard, fast rule with a list, follow this, this, and this, and you can get an account. But unfortunately, I can't. But I will tell you that being patient and being nice helps a lot. Having somebody with you that knows how everything works helps a lot. So if you have any problem with your Spanish or anything like that, especially when you're starting out, make sure you've got somebody that can help you. You might have a lot better chance of getting that account. At least that's my experience. What else do I have about banks in here? Oh, something we're learning, we don't have a dollars account, but a lot of the banks here, you can get both a US dollars or a Quetzal account.
Right. The common one is the Quetzal account. I mean, you're dealing in their currency.
Right.
There is also an option to get an account that is US dollars based. And we haven't opened one yet. And we've been asking around, trying to get opinions as to whether it helps us or not. And we've heard.
Well, here's my understanding, and that's all it is. Please, this is not science. This is my understanding. If I move money from the US in US dollars directly into my dollars account, that's $100 is $100, no change. Supposedly, when I need that money in quetzales and I move it because the money's here in dollars and I move it from a dollar account here in Guatemala to a quetzal account here in Guatemala.
Or withdraw it in
quetzales, right. Supposedly, I'm going to get a better exchange rate. But just last week, I was asking at the bank, and if I understand them correctly, she showed me the sale and buy rates on their website. And she said, if I move the money, this is the rate I'm going to get. And that's less than the rate I get when I just transfer money from my Wells Fargo account. So maybe because Wells Fargo is offering a better rate of exchange, I don't know. Maybe it's not enough money to make a difference. I don't know that yet either. But there are a lot of people that said there's a huge advantage. And maybe they're just dealing in bigger sums of money, and that's why.
Yeah, I do remember somebody, and I don't remember the details, but they were saying if you're doing larger financial transactions, it may be beneficial to have the dollars account. Are we going to talk about it here or did we miss it a little bit? How we're getting money down
that's
here?
What we're doing right now, moving money. How to move money into your account. That's next on our list.
Okay, very good.
Good segue, honey. There's a lot of different ways to move money down here. And it can be anything from a transfer from a US bank into your account here. And some banks have fees, some don't. Charles Schwab, my understanding is they don't. Wells Fargo has an international transfer. It cost me $5 for up to, I think, $5,000 that I move. So it's not a lot, really, to have that $5 transfer fee. You can still go back to those companies I mentioned, Zoom, Wise, Remit.
Right. You know, when we very first moved down here, we didn't have a Wells Fargo account. Right. And so we were trying to use these different money transfer services. And they worked right up until the time it didn't work. And then you're kind of struggling because you contact the bank here and they say, well, it's not our problem, it's somewhere upstream. And then you contact the service and they say, well, it's not our problem, it's somebody else's problem. So you're stuck in this thing, it's not us, it's them and whatnot. So,
but they are getting better. They're getting a lot more consistent, is my understanding.
Okay. And that's a good thing. But that's part of the reason why we did some research, excuse me. And for us, Wells Fargo was the best option because they had the cheapest transfer fee at the time that we could find that was easy for us to get. Because unfortunately, not all banks in the USA are all over. And even that Wells Fargo, it just happened to be that I was going to go visit my parents in Arizona,
which has Wells
Fargo.
Right.
In Michigan, there is no Wells Fargo. So it worked out great for us, and we've used them. I don't think there's been a flaw, and that's been 4 or 5 years now we've had it.
Actually, yeah, 5 years now we've had it.
So. 5 years. And I'm just going to tell you, it's nice to have something like that, and hopefully these other services that Debbie's mentioned are better, because it's kind of frustrating when you're kind of low in your money account. You go to transfer money and it's like, why isn't it showing up in my account?
Now, if you have time, a lot of people, I understand, have a plan. You can take a U.S. check and deposit it into your Guatemalan bank account.
That's kind of what I wanted us to do initially, is just at the beginning of the month, write a check for a set dollar amount, $2,000, and deposit in the bank, and know that we can't access that money until the following month.
Because it takes almost a month to clear, almost every time.
30 days
to clear
for it to go through the whole system and to get the money there. But we know people who live here, and that's how they do it. Just once a month, they write a check, deposit it here, and then their money's available to them.
Now, if you need money quickly, securely, or a large sum, you can do a wire transfer. And most banks, in my experience in the U.S., charge around $40 for a wire transfer. I've been told, once again, Schwab, which we need to open an account because we have some money there, but they only do $15 for an international wire transfer, and you have your money in your account within minutes. And the other thing about a wire transfer is you can move large sums of money if you'd like. And something that we've been learning, because right now we're car shopping. We haven't bought anything yet, but we are car shopping and looking for ways to get down enough money here to purchase a car and pay for it just in one lump sum. And so I'm learning about moving larger sums of money. And one thing I've learned is don't try to skip under that 10,000 mark by moving $9,000 3 days in a row or something like that, because that actually looks worse than just moving over $10,000.
And the thing is, right, there's a process you need to follow. There's some amount of questions or forms you need to fill out on the U.S. end. And from what we're hearing, in Guatemala, whichever bank is going to receive it, there's some information you got to give them. But once you do that, and because at first we're kind of hearing this, $10,000 limit is a no pass or whatever.
Yeah, don't let the IRS know or something like that. That's not the truth.
There's some people down here, there's some foreigners down here who are doing business here, and they're moving larger sums of money. And when we asked the question, and for us it was a large sum, but somebody else is going, that's nothing.
Not that much money,
because the car we're looking at, we're looking at somewhere $25,000 for a brand new car here.
And we've talked to people that are building houses down here.
And they're like, oh, that's nothing. I regularly move 50,000 or whatever.
So it's just knowing
it's possible.
Yeah, there's an IRS website about this, and it tells you exactly how to fill out the form for anything over $10,000. And it's not about taxes. It's just about declaring that you're moving the money. And then the bank that you're moving it to might ask you, where did the money come from? And you just have to declare, was it a gift? Did it come out of retirement? Did it come out of savings? Whatever. And depending on the whole process, most people have said they've received their funds within a day or less. A handful of people have had an issue. And I don't know their story. I don't know what that issue is, but on a whole, everybody that we've consulted with said it's easy. Don't be afraid to move large sums of money. So you can get, money out of your ATM. You can get money with a credit card. You can pay with a credit card. You can get a large sum of money if you need it. There's so many ways to get your cash down here.
Let's take 1 second to talk about credit cards. Like we said earlier, Visa and MasterCard are king down here. American Express, we do have an American Express card. There are some places that accept it, but it's not universally accepted, especially, first thing, if you go to a smaller store, it's probably going to be cash only.
Right.
Or this bank transfer. Like
that's what I'm getting to, how to pay for things. That's next on the list again.
So, hey, I'm one step ahead of the game.
One step ahead, yeah.
So, one very common thing to do down here is just to transfer money between your bank account and somebody else's bank account, whether it's a business or a private party. And it's very easy. You just give the person who's going to send the money to you, they need your account number. You give them the account number, they go on to their bank.
That takes a lot to get used to as an American, because at least myself, I've been taught you keep that stuff private.
Yeah,
you don't give out that information.
Don't give out your bank account number.
But here, everybody has how do I pay you? Oh, I'll make a transfer. What's your account number?
Now, the thing is, that number is only good for getting money into the account. They can't use it to pull money out of the account and otherwise access your account. That's our understanding, right?
They can only transfer money to you.
It's only for transferring money into the account. So that's a very common way.
As an example, our chiropractor does not take a credit card. If we don't have cash when we go there to make a payment for the appointment, we can just make a transfer right there. I go on my phone, I transfer the amount for the appointment into their account, boom, it's paid for.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. We also like to get our meat from there. There's a Mennonite community that's within a half an hour of here, basically, and they have beef
and
pork. Beef and pork is what they have. That when we ask for that stuff, we always give them a money transfer.
And so it's
bank transfer,
And the other nice thing is, if you are going to pay somebody, maybe they don't have a bank account. How can I pay somebody money? Well, a good example of that is our students here. If I'm sending them grocery money and they don't have a bank account, especially at my bank, I send them a bank transfer to their phone number. They get the instructions. They can go to the ATM. They don't need a card. They just follow the instructions, put in the transaction number and the amount that was sent. And as long as it matches what I put in my transfer, the machine gives them money right there.
That's called a mobile transfer.
A mobile transfer, right.
So you don't even need to have a bank account in that situation, but somebody can give you some money and you just go to the ATM and get the money out.
So that's another way to get money. Or to make payments. And the other thing is, banks are what does everything. Everybody makes payments at banks here for everything. You go to your utilities are paid at the bank, whether you do it online or wait in line at a bank. Your rent you may pay at the bank, or you may do a transfer to somebody. If you have, like, our health insurance comes out of our bank savings. We put the money in our bank savings and they take it out.
Yeah, if you go to a bank, you will see that a lot of banks, they're selling insurance there. Home, auto, life, I don't know, medical,
right.
Health insurance. Those things you can buy right at the bank and you make your payments right at the bank.
And that doesn't mean you can't find agencies. There are agencies out here, but it's really a big deal for the banks to sell all this.
A lot of those banks, they have their own insurance. I mean, that's part of the banking system here, is they also have insurance company.
Well, when we were looking at cars, that's what they said. If you buy a car and finance it, the bank is right there and they include the cost of your insurance in your financing. You don't get to buy a separate policy. You're paying right then. So that's all part of the banking system here. Really, we only have one more thing, I think, but some people have asked, how do I send money from Guatemala to the United States? That's a little more difficult because all of those services we talked about, They don't work in reverse. At least I have not heard of one that works in reverse at this point in time. The only time, we only had to do that one time, and I couldn't believe how unbelievably easy it was. We have an account at GET. I went online. I did it all online. I didn't have to go to the bank. And I did a wire transfer online with GET from our bank account in Guatemala to our account in the United States. And the fee was about $40, about the same. You just have to go ahead of time so that you already know. Internationally, they have something called SWIFT bank numbers you have to use for a transfer, a wire transfer. You need your routing number and both bank account numbers. If you have all that information, you can still send money in reverse. But if there is another way, which there may be, I'm not familiar with it, but it can be done. That's kind of what I just wanted to tell you about.
Yeah.
So,
well, one thing is for certain, I think it's a lot more common with not only the number of Guatemalans that live in the USA and work in the USA, but are sending money back here to family, or expats who are living here who need to get money from some other country. So there's a lot more flow of money coming into the country
US dollars coming
than it is
in
trying
and going out, right?
to go out. But
Right. Is there anything else we have on money?
I don't think so.
Well, if you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the comments below. Also, there's a lot of resource pages that I've listed in the description below, the different Facebook pages and such. And go ahead and check those out and join those Facebook pages. And in the meantime, like, comment, share, subscribe. Yep. And thank you for joining us at Life in Guatemala.
Bye-bye.
Bye.